Scotty, you too. You're up. Your little toy's here. Open it up and get that process done. How long? How long?
Hello students,
How long is it
good
going
morning.
to minutes? No, I'm gonna have to. I reckon chilling. It's gonna end soon. Two. This is one. You got Bravo 6 here. Bravo 6. Bravo 6. Bravo 6. Do you hear me? Bravo 6, you making your way out? Bravo 6, come in. Come on, brother. Bravo 6, this is Bravo 2 for you. This is Bravo 2. I can't get Bravo 6 on the count. Good eyes on this location. Copy that, eyes on. It's the same as when I... Got a big problem. I count 3 points. We have to break Bravo 6. Spencer's still safe. Well, no one's joking around like they won the lottery. So I'm going to get it. I think the agent can come. That's down there. Yeah. Hold on that. Copy that. Watch him, Ray. They're not deep in mission. Sir, we have a man in danger. Oh, General Parsons, CENTCOM Air Combat Command. I fire. Recovering the drone processor. Issue priority. Letting our forces into critical the environment. Forgive me, sir. Are you asking me to leave the men behind? Iraqi assault. Look at your guy. All due respect, sir. I'll take them a day. Half a look. That will be combat zones without much now. That's safety. Understood. Yes, sir. Kids up the gas stick. Please, Kate, here's all I care about is the... Still another 5 minutes. That's too long. I'll give it to you. Get yourself... Surgery.
Hello, students. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you raise your hand? And please, Madam Ma'am, if you can hear me, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Thank you, student. Okay, Madam Faith, you can unmute your mic and continue with your class, please. I've made you a co-host and everything is on now. You can continue.
All right. Good morning. This is Madam Mem on board, and I'll be taking you through this session, and it will last us up to around 12:30 p.m. So it's my hope that you've all have had heavy breakfast for us to be able to grasp everything that I'll be taking you through. So it is my hope and prayer that all of you are really taking good care of yourselves, especially at this point in time where so much is happening around us. Make sure that you observe what the Ministry of Health is advising in regards to protecting ourselves. Make sure that you observe the social distance rules, the social distancing. Make sure that you wash your hands frequently with clean water and soap. Make sure that you're also very careful, especially with the people that you're hanging around with. Make sure that you don't interact with people at close range. And above all, let's continue praying for this to end and be disciplined even as you interact with other people. So basically for this session, which will end at around 12:30, I wanted us to look at functional writing. So I want to hope that each one of us has a notebook somewhere that you'll need to take notes. So can you make sure, as much as you're seated and observing this online class, make sure that you have some paper to take notes, and of course a good biro. So for this session, as I said, we are going to look at functional skills. And we see that under functional skills, we have various forms of functional skills. Number one, and make sure that you're taking note. Don't just look, just make sure that you're also scribbling down some important points, because at the end of this session, I will be giving you a task, and you'll be able to do this task as a result of being very attentive during this lesson, and even making sure that you recorded some vital details in regard to whatever I'm going to address. So make sure that you have you're in a very conducive environment, you have a pen and a paper. So under functional writing, as I said, they are of various forms. And the first form of functional writing that we normally encounter, record this, personal writing. Personal writing. These are basically writings that you write to oneself. For example, in Form 1, under personal writing, we have writing a diary, diary keeping. In some other sources, you'll find the diary being called a planner. So simply put, a diary or a planner, basically it's one at the same. That is under personal writing. At your level, we will focus more on how to keep, how to write a diary. Let us look at the second form of functional writing. The first we have said is personal writing. At your level, we have said we will solely focus on how to write a diary. Later, in Form 2, you will look at how to keep a personal journal. And the list goes on up to Form 4. We have various forms of personal writing. So at your level, we'll concentrate more on diary writing. Something else that we will focus at your level will be how to write a packing list. Say, like, for example, you'd like to travel somewhere, okay? So you'll need to have a list that will enable you, that will guide you on what items to pack on before you start your journey, for example, if it's a trip. Something else under personal writing at your level in Form 1 is shopping lists. So can you make sure that you record that as well? God willing, in January, let's pray for the best that we go back to school. You'll need to draft a list of items that you'll need to have when you go back to school. So we see that that one also falls under personal writing. Let us look at the second form of functional skills. Personal writing, take note, Form 1, we have diary writing, packing lists, and shopping lists. Let us look at the second category under functional skills, something we call social writing. Social writing. Social meaning that whatever writing that you are putting down on paper, it is intended or purposed to be shared to others, especially to people that you hold close relationships with, close acquaintances. Could be your friend, your relative, or other family members. So under social writing, take note of this. These kind of writings, they are meant to be shared with people that you hold close relationships with. Those people you hold close acquaintances with. And one such example of social writing at your level, and in most cases that you'll find before we closed schools, we were able to tackle, is how to write an informal letter, what we also refer to as a friendly letter. So can you make sure that you take note of that? Most of the classes before we closed, we were able to look at how to write friendly, or what is also referred to as informal letters. Let us look at the third form of functional writing. Functional writing. We have public writing. Public writing. That is number 3. And when we look at public, we see that this touches mostly, or it concerns, people as a whole. At your level, under public writing, we do not have such in Form 1. But later, when you go to Form 2, you will look at how to fill various forms, how to write various letters of application, letters of inquiry, letters of request, how to write a speech, and even how to write a questionnaire. So basically, at your level, you need not worry. Public writing, we won't look at it in Form 1, but later on I've said we will look at filling forms, letters of inquiry, letters of apology, letter of request, speeches, questionnaires, and so forth. Let us look at the last category or form of functional writing. Functional writing. We have the institutional writing. Make sure that you take note of that. Institutional writing. And we see that under this writing, this form of writing, it is normally guided by some set of rules or even practices of a given institution or an organization. So basically we see that under this, the institutional kind of writing, there is some form of order. Basically, it is used within institutions or organizations that normally have an established law and practice. Let us look at examples of institutional writings at your level. That is, later on, we will look at how to write a public notice, how to write an inventory. So we see at your level, we will focus more on public notices and how to write an inventory. So basically, that is what will be expected under functional skills. We have the personal writings. I have clearly identified at your level what we need to cover. Under social writing, so far we have looked at the friendly letters, okay? Later on in Form 2, we will look at something else under social writing and even all the way to Form 4. Then we have looked at the third, public writing, and lastly, we have looked at the institutional writing. So, since we cannot exhaust all these forms of writings because of the time factor, I solely want to focus on one type of writing, specifically personal writing. And to be very, very categorical, I want us for this session to concentrate on how to keep a diary. So make sure that you have a short heading there, how to keep a diary, diary writing or diary keeping. And I said from other sources, you'll find the diaries being called planners. So basically that is one at the same time. So during this session, what do I purpose to cover? Take note of this. First and foremost, I'd like to define what a diary is. Diary, what is a diary? Number 2, some of you are not taking notes. Stop frowning, write it down. So, the second thing that I intend to cover, why keep a diary? The reason as to why you need to keep a diary. Number 3, when do you keep a diary? At what times? Okay, are we called to keep a diary? Next, what I intend to cover, where do we record? Where do we write? That is basically touching on the place. Next, what I intend to cover, how do we write a diary? So basically, I'll take you through the guidelines on how to have a very good diary.
Pardon, please, madam.
Yes?
The students are saying that you are too fast.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
All right. But here, actually, I'm just taking them through what I intend to cover. So I've not even started.
Yeah. They are writing on the chat that you're too fast.
All right, it's okay. So let me just highlight what I intend to cover. What a diary is. Take note of that. That is what I intend to cover. What a diary is. So basically, I'll define for you what a diary is. Number 2, something else that I will bring to light is why keep a diary. So number 2, write that. Why keep a diary? The reason as to why we need to write a diary. Number 3, when to keep a diary. When are we called upon to keep a diary? Under what situations or circumstances are we called upon to keep a diary? That is the third issue that I will take you through. Next, where do we record? Where? The place, eh? Where do we write, this diary? Where do we record these events or activities? So basically, the place. Next, how to write a diary. How to write a diary. So basically, I will take you the steps on how to write a good diary. What are the prerequisites? So I will address that. The guidelines that we need to have in mind as we write our personal diaries. I will take you through that. And of course, as I do that, I will give, I'll just highlight, I'll just show you briefly some sample diaries that I have with me. Because again, I need to lead by example. So I have like 4 samples of diaries that I have with me. So I will show you how a diary appears. And last but not the least, what I will address, I will give you a task on diary writing. So I will define what a diary is, why we keep diaries, when we are called upon to keep diaries, where we need to record, how to write a diary, samples of some diaries that I got, and of course, an activity at the end of this session. So I want to believe that we are all at par. Let us start with the definition. What is a diary? Or a planner? What is a diary? What is a planner? Exactly, what is this? So it is worth noting that a diary is a personal document. Can you start with that? It is a personal document, meaning that it is very private, only to be consumed by your own eyes. It's not for the public. So it is a personal document, very private. So even as you develop one, can you make sure, even where you keep it, it is only accessible to you as an individual? Something else to do with the definition. Take note of this, that in this document, you record things to be done. In the diary, in this document, you record things to be done. My friend, can you write things to be done? So basically, simply put, these are activities. These are events. These are appointments that you have not yet honored. They have not yet taken place. That is why it's being referred to as a planner. Things that you intend to do. And we see these things are intended to be done on specific days and at specific times. So can you make sure you also take note of that? First, we said that a diary is personal, very private. And in this document, this personal document, which is called a diary, you record things that you are yet to do, things to be done on specific days and at specific times. Make sure that you take note of that. Moses and John Munene, make sure that you record that. After recording, as we wait for everybody to be at par, can you make sure that you write down? I'll give you a minute or so to write down 3 activities or 3 appointments or even an event that you'd like to do after the end of Zoom classes. This is an activity I'm giving you. Can you make sure right below, once you have defined what a diary is, can you list down 3 things that you purpose to do at the end of Zoom classes? At least 3. I'm giving you a minute to do that task. At least 3 activities, at least 3 events that you intend to do at the end of this session, at the end of the Zoom classes. Half a minute remaining for you to jolt it down. I said that we should all be having a piece of paper and a biro. I'm sure we have done that, and since this, unfortunately, we are just so many, at the moment I can see close to 200 participants. Maybe what I can do for now, I'll just highlight some of the activities, some of the events, some of the appointments that probably most of you have recorded, have listed down. I'm sure some of you, we all come from different places. So I'm sure at the end of the Zoom classes, some of you, maybe you have listed this as an activity that you will do thereafter. Fetching firewood, that's an activity. Somebody else seated somewhere may have written attending a wedding. Somebody else, depending, could have written meet with John at Art Cafe, for example, for a cup of coffee. Somebody else could have written after the Zoom classes, you go and take care of cattle. So basically here, it's quite subjective. So it's my hope that at least you've written down activities. Who is that interrupting? I want to look at the second thing that I purpose to take you through. I have taken you through the definition of what a diary is. And next, I want to highlight why keep a diary. So can you make sure that you have that? Why keep a diary? The reason behind us keeping a diary, especially at this point in time, during this COVID-19 pandemic era. Why are we being called upon by Mrs. Mem to keep a diary? Because at the end of this lesson, I want us to make it a practice to keep a diary. So for what purpose? Okay? Why has Mrs. Mem decided that during this long holiday, you need to keep a diary? Number 1, to be able to honor your appointments. So can you take note of that? While we keep diaries, it helps one to honor appointments. It helps one to honor appointments or events or even activities. It makes one honor appointments, events, and activities, or even the various tasks that you have purposed to cover. So that every time that you record, like for example, some of you I said may have written, you want to go fetch firewood after the Zoom classes. So that you do not forget. You make sure that you have recorded that way in advance so that you don't forget. And we see that through constant practice, I'm sure majority of us have not even started this act of diary writing. For those who have already started this, thumbs up. But in case you have never written in a diary, in case you've never kept a diary, all is not lost. There is still so much hope. After this session, you'll be able to develop that. And of course, it goes with practice, because they say practice makes perfect. So even if, like for example, today, tomorrow, the day after, you're having some hitches or some problems in writing your diary, just continue, just press on. And with time, you will be there. You will be able to keep an effective diary. Something that you need to note as you keep your diary, can you make sure that you are able to be as orderly as possible? It is as a result of this practice. When you practice now keeping the diary, each day at a time, you plan for your day. With time, you're able to be more organized with your life and even orderly. And as a result of it all, with continuous practice, you attain that personal fulfillment so that you can look way back. Oh, on this day, I was able to plan for my day. The next day, I was able to plan for my day. And when you make it a habit, you will feel satisfied or fulfilled as an individual. You will even go to the length of being self-actualized. So make it a habit to write, to keep a diary, and to be very, very faithful to it. Okay? Let us look at the third element that I purpose to take you through. So why keep a diary? I have said to honor your appointments or events or activities or a given task, okay? Or even important occasions so that you don't forget. Basically, it acts more like a reminder. And we say that through constant practice, as you continue writing this diary, you become more organized with your life. You become more orderly with your life. And at the end of it, you emerge a happy person. Let us look at something else. When to keep a diary. The third thing that I said that I will take you through, when to keep a diary. At which particular times or moments are we called upon to keep a diary? When? Time. When are we supposed to keep a diary? Please, now that we have all the time to ourselves, make it a daily practice. So make sure that you take note of that. Make it a daily routine. I have said initially, during the initial stages, you might encounter some difficulties, but you should not give up. Just press on, and with time you will get there. So can you make it a daily practice? And as soon as at the end of this session, can you look for a notebook? There are others that are usually guided. Can you make sure that you look for one and start the act of diary writing? So I'm sure somebody somewhere seated could be asking, Mwalimu, Madam Mem, specifically at what time should I record in my diary? That is quite subjective. We are all different. Like personally, I prefer planning for my day very early in the morning before everything else. After I whispered the morning prayers to thank my Maker for giving me a new day, I usually make sure that I have planned for my entire day, all the way to the time that I will go back to sleep. There are other individuals who prefer, after having, carried on with the day, before they start the following day, they plan for the following day. So there are some people who will write that diary late at night with the intention of planning for the next day. So basically, it's all subjective. The choice is yours. You can either opt to write it very early in the morning before you do anything else, okay? You make sure that you plan for your days, the activities that you have way in advance. If there is an appointment that you need to attend to, you make sure that you record that. And an event. Others you'll do so late at night as you intend to plan for the following day. So basically, on the timing, that is solely subjective. However, you need to take note of this. As much as you're recording late at night or very early in the morning, please, my dear sons, can you make sure that you are very disciplined? Consistency is key. If you intend to do it very early in the morning, make sure that you always do that each and every morning. If you have purpose to write your diary late at night, please, can you be disciplined? Make sure that every evening, late at night, if that is the time that you have allocated to keep your diary, please be faithful to that. Because we know what happens when you are not disciplined. You will basically lose focus and you will not achieve your goals. So it's very vital that you're very consistent as you keep your diary. So basically, I want to look at the next issue that I'd like to take you through. Where to record? Where do you keep these diaries? Where? So basically touching on the place. And here I want us to be very, very attentive. Where do we record? The place. Where do we keep this diary? Of course, with the place, the place, it has to be, it's personal. We said it's very private. So it depends. Like for example, mine, I lock them up in my wardrobe. I feel that my wardrobe issues the privacy that I need to keep my diary. For others, maybe somebody will feel so like the diary is so secure under a mattress. It depends. You can just tuck it there under your mattress as long as it's secure, that you feel that it's in a private place, because you don't want anybody, maybe like for example, you just place it on a piece of table at your living room, then you know, all the family members are accessing it and you will feel that lack of privacy. So can you make sure that for you to feel like, you know, it's yours, it's personal, secure it in a safe place. Take note of that. Where? Make sure you secure it in a safe place. Where do you record a diary? Like, I will use some examples here. I have my personal diaries that I have been keeping over time. So I will start with the most appealing here. The most appealing, I hope we can have a look at it. This is a diary of mine, which I normally use, especially when I want to plan for simple tasks. So you see that in this diary of mine, it's in form of a folder. And we see that in each folder here, I just plug. It's very plain, but very, very colorful, very appealing, so appealing to the eyes. It is very plain, yet eye-catching. So can you make sure wherever you are writing your diary, it is appealing. It is eye-catching, only to you. Remember, it's private. Take note of that. That is the first sample that I have for you. Take a look at it. We can see it's very beautiful. It's having some very good graphics there. Some, I don't know if they are Maasai's, but to me they seem to be, they are Maasai ladies. That is what it appears. And they seem to be having some good time. Why appealing to the eye? Why eye-catching? So that every time that I need to plan for my day, at least I have the psych to do so. That is my number one reason as to why I opted to use this as my diary. Very simple, okay, but very appealing to the eye. So basically, you can choose to write your diary on a notebook such as this, something that is plain. Then I will show you how to go about entering or keying in the entries. Let us look at the second sample of a diary. Again, it is in form of a notebook. It is in form of a notebook. It's a diary in form of a notebook. And this I received from, you see, the festive super soft bread people. Eh? They are the ones who gifted me with this. So, again, in form of a notebook. And we see that this is how it is appearing. It appears like this on the inside. So we have this section, basically some lines drawn horizontally. And slightly above, we have the date. So that is where you're supposed to record your date for a given day. Like for example, today is on 20th of July, 2020. So that is where you record the date. Later on, don't worry about the lines. I will show you what we need to feed those lines with, which entries that we need to keep in our diaries. So again, this is in form of a notebook. Let me take you through the third sample of a diary that I had way back in 2012. I know we are in 2020, but again, diaries are supposed to be kept. So that later in life, when I go through, you know, the activities that I used to do way back in 2012, I am able to see how much I have accomplished. And of course, as I do so, every time I see there is this task that I had developed, I was able to achieve it. I feel that I am progressing as an individual. So let me take you through my third sample of the diary. This one, it is from a commercially prepared diary. It is called a commercially prepared diary, whereby it is guided. It is well guided. As you can see, it is well guided, whereby we have at the very top, on which corner? The very top right, we have the calendar for that year. And we see that, like for example, with the page that I've opened is March, okay, 11th week of March. It was on a Friday, okay. So we see that basically you are provided with some guidelines on how to feed your diary, whereby on the extreme left, on the left margin, can you all look? We have the timing. At 8 a.m., for example, now you record the task that you purpose to achieve. At 9 to 9:30, another task, you highlight it if you have one in mind. It goes all the way to 6:30. You make sure that you have recorded what you intend to do. So we see that this is another example of a diary, okay? This one is not plain, but it is commercially prepared. Things are normally, you're just filling. At the very end, at the bottom, I hope you can all see, evening. You just told yourself for a small meeting before you go to bed. And you try to establish during the day, were you able to achieve what you had purposed to cover during that day? Then you make a brief summary. For those who cannot see, let me just take you through. So basically, we see that for the guided, which by the way, this one you'll just do it over the holiday. But as you tackle your examinations, we normally just present you with a plain paper without examination paper. So for you, I will just take you through what you need to feed in your diary. So this one, I was just taking you through this commercially made diary for you to be able to understand how exactly a diary looks like. But for your purpose, now that we are learning on how to write a diary, you'll have to use the plain one, the notebook one, whereby you start everything from the scratch. So can we just focus more on this diary, whereby you're just having a plain paper, so you're starting from the scratch. For these others, I was just taking you, I'm sure most of you have gone through diaries, so I was just taking you through how some of these commercially prepared diaries appear. So our focus should be more on developing our own from the scratch. I'm giving you time to compile your notes, 1 minute to compile your notes. And I've said for this purpose, you solely focus on using a pure, just a at the end of this, it's not in vain. At the end of this session, we will be expected to tackle an exam question on diary writing. So can you make sure that you are making very good, well-supported notes on diary writing? So 1 minute to have a look at whatever you have written. Make sure that it's at par with what I am addressing. So I said we looked at the definition, what a diary is, why keeping a diary is important, when to keep a diary, where to record a diary. And I said where to record at our level, because it's at the end of the day we are being examined. Just take a plain notebook with nothing written on it. What I was just showing you, we have some other commercially prepared diaries, which you can use as a by the way, especially during this time. But otherwise, during an exam period, we do not expect us to be provided with the commercially prepared diaries. Okay? Yes. Next. I want to believe that we are all as far. How do we write a diary? How? The manner in which to write one. What are the guidelines? What are the prerequisites on writing a diary? What do we need to arm ourselves with as we write a diary? Number one, I said, how do we keep a diary? What are the guidelines? What are the tools or the equipment that we need to arm ourselves with as we write a diary? Take note of this. A diary is normally, a diary is made of entries. Entries, E-N-T-R-I-E-S. E-N-T-R-I-E-S. A diary is made up of entries or individual records. A diary is made up of entries or individual records. A diary is made up of entries or individual records, full stop. And we see that each entry, it has a heading. Write that. Each entry or each individual record has a heading. Each entry or each individual record has a heading. And of course, with your heading, it has to be at the very top of the page, the very top of the page. So exactly what do we write in our heading? Which details do we feed? The heading. So can you write this? The heading shows the specific day. The heading, it shows the specific day. Like for example, today is on Monday. So can you make sure that you record that? Monday, Monday. So we see that above there at the very top, okay? Your entry should be fed with this detail. Number one, the day. Today, like for example, is on a Monday. And of course, you put a comma. Then the dates, date. Today is on 20th of July, the year 2020. Today is on 20th July 2020. We have said, we have promised each other that we will keep a diary starting from after this Zoom lesson. So can you make sure that that is how your entry or your individual recording is reading for the heading? The specific day, today we've said we are all in agreement. Today is on Monday. The date, 20th of July, the year 2020. Can you make sure that you write it full, tafadhali? Because there are some people, say like for example, we reach the month of September or December or October. Then you start writing oct, sept, nov. The examiner will try to interpret those ones, the short forms, the oct. Oct could be octopus. So can you make sure that you write it in full? And even the year should be in full. On the far, now that you've written the heading, on the left margin, make sure that wherever you're writing, you have a left margin happen. On the left margin, that is where now you record the timing, the time. Like for example, with mine, my activities start at 8 a.m. That is when I start my to-do list. Can you make sure that you align that on the left margin? Then of course you will skip a line, 8, maybe now you have the time duration. Like for example, in my case, between 8 a.m. to 8:30 p.m., 8:30 a.m., I normally have a task. So it depends on individual. So if you want to break, give them a 30-minute break, 1 hour break, 2 hour break, that is upon you as an individual. Let us look at what else that we need to write under the entry. We've said the heading. On the top, record the specific day and dates. Then on the left margin, can you make sure that you now record the timings? Between 8 to 8:30, 9, 8:30 to 9, 9:30 to, you get, and the list goes on, depending on when you purpose your day to end. The second thing that you need to record in your diary, the postings, write it down. Samuel, write it down. Samuel Rook, write it down. The postings, P-O-S-T-I-N-G-S, P-O-S-T-I-N-G-S, the postings. What are these? Brayson, Nyaga, write this. Under the postings, these are the events or the appointments or the activities that you purpose to do. Bryson, Nyaga, make sure that you write that. Stop holding your cheek, your chin. So, under posting, we said record the events or the appointments or the activities that you purpose to do in a given day. So I have a small activity for you. A very short one, should take you 1 minute. After the Zoom classes, which end at 4 p.m. Okay? Of course, the heading. Today we have all agreed. Today is on Monday, 20th, okay? July 2020. That one we are in agreement. So I want us to do this very simple task. The classes, I'm assuming, end at 4 p.m. So I want you to have 3 activities that you purpose to do at the end of the Zoom classes. So you have your heading. Then, so you start with 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. What do you purpose to do? 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. What do you purpose to do? 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. What do you intend to do? Can you list down that right now, right now, right now? Joel Austin, do that right now. 3 activities that you purpose to do at the end of the Zoom classes, which end at 4 p.m. So between 4 to 5 p.m., what are you purposing to do? Between 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., what do you intend to do? Between the next hour, what do you purpose to do? List that down. Make sure that you do that very quickly. Somebody, time is up. No. The lesson should end at 12:30. Those who are thinking that time is up, I have close to 28 minutes. So can you be a bit patient? Kindly. I still have you for like, how many more minutes? 27 minutes. Wacha kuboeka. So I am sure, I said that this one is not as quite as interactive, but I'm trying to assume, like in my case, this is what I purpose to do. Immediately after this, now that I am not having any other Zoom class to teach, this is what I purpose to do. At 12:30, cook pizza for my family. So I have listed down that, cook pizza for my family. At 2 p.m., this is what Mrs. Mem has purposed to do, which she has already recorded way before undertaking the task. A diary, we said you should write it way before you undergo or you undertake any task or activity. So at 2 p.m., play with my children at Jacaranda. Play with my children at Jacaranda Fields. That is what I purpose to do with that hour, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Then, between 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., I intend to take my children to swimming at Konambaya. So, basically, as you record your activities, as you record your appointments, in case you had an appointment with a doctor, make sure that you record that. Maybe I have an appointment with Dr. Samuel Owinja. In case you wanted to meet somebody, Derarosa, make sure that you record that. And even the venue at Mary Square Gardens. So, point to note, NB. Now that we have looked at how to write a diary, we have said you have the heading and the posting, okay? That is how you write a diary. Under the posting, we said you record the events, the appointments, the activities, okay, that you intend to undertake. So point to note. NB, don't worry, I'm not very far. I'm about to give you some time to do that art of diary writing. So point to note. These events, these activities must be written chronologically. Can you take note of that? The events, the activities must be written chronologically. What do I mean by that? In order of happening. Have some order. This should happen before this. It's just like the way we have the number sequencing. A should be followed by B. B should be followed by C, all the way to Z. So can you make sure that you are as sequential as possible. You list down the events or the activities in a way or in the manner in which they will occur. Of course, the main reason being to avoid confusion. You don't want, at the end of the day, you feel like, you know, it was not worth not being called a day. You'd like it, you'd like at the end of the day, you look at it and then you're like, wow, I had a very successful day. So that is why you need to be so chronological. Make sure that you also indicate the venue. Number 2, something else that is worth noting. Always advisable to indicate the venue or the place. Venue, it is also the place. If it is far from your usual environment, make sure, yeah, as you record, if an activity is going to take place from an environment that is far from your usual, can you make sure that you record that? Take Anna to Zen Gardens, for example. Anna being your sister, eh? Yes. Assuming that at 4 p.m. you intend to take Anna, your sister, you know, to a place to play. And if it's far from your usual surroundings, make sure that you take note of that. Take Anna to Zen Gardens, for example, or whichever venue that you have chosen. Now, I want us to have something else that is very crucial before we keep our diaries. So I don't know, you'll just give it a heading, point to keep in mind as you keep a diary. You can have that as a heading. Points to keep in mind as you keep a diary. Points to keep in mind as you keep a diary. Because basically, for those who are looking at the watch, we have like 20 or so minutes, so I need to wind up. So basically, we've already looked at what a diary is, why keep a diary, when to keep a diary, where to record, how to write a diary, and now we are at point to keep in mind, the points, what we have to have in mind as we keep a diary. So basically, these are the general guidelines, okay, on how, you know, to achieve this practice effectively, this practice of diary writing. So number 1, I said the heading, point to keep in mind, points to keep or to have in mind as you keep a diary. Points to have in mind as you keep a diary. Number 1, be brief and selective. Be brief and selective. Brief, the spelling is B-R-I-E-F. B-R-I-E-F. Brief. Be brief, short, and precise. That is what I mean by being brief. Remember, this is not a composition. And even I was showing you my sample diaries, they can only occupy not so much. So can you make sure you do not record the so obvious activities? Do not record, take note of that. So do not record the not so obvious activities. Like for example, in my case, when I wake up very early in the morning, I normally pray. I told you that. And it's, you know, a daily practice for me. So I do not record that in my diary because it's in my genes. You get, it's in my blood. The only time that I might be called for to write it in my diary is maybe, and I repeat, maybe I am whispering a special prayer. Say, like, for example, a friend of mine, God forbid, is not feeling well. So in my diary, I will record, whisper or pray for Damaris, for example, for her to recover. Pray for Damaris for her quick recovery. But if it's the normal, the usual prayers that I say in the morning, I need not record that. So make sure, as much as you're recording in your diary, as much as you're keeping your diary, please keep off. Do not write the rather obvious activities like eating during lunchtime. It's a common, practice that we all consume something over lunchtime, unless it's something that, it's extraordinary. Then we see that in that case, you are called for to have that in your diary. Brushing our teeth, for example. It's a common practice that, we brush our teeth, and on an everyday basis, you don't need to record that because it's already in your system. So it is very, very important that you're very brief, you're very selective, and you do not record the so obvious activities like the ones you have listed. And I'm sure the list goes on. We are all different, we are all unique. So something could be very, normal to me, but to somebody else could be not so, could be a bit abnormal. So we record these abnormal or unusual happenings that we end to partake as the day progresses. Make sure that you record that. Daula Rooney, make sure that you record that. Do not record the so obvious activities or events. Something else that you need to take note of, number 2, you can use short forms. You can use short forms. Write that down. You can use short forms, short notes, those small short notes, and even abbreviations. It's quite in order for you to use short forms, notes, and abbreviations. Provided they are meaningful to you. Provided they are meaningful to you. Please, for crying out loud, do not use short forms or abbreviations or notes that you cannot really comprehend with. Because in future, you will look at your diary for reference purpose. And then, once you use these unfamiliar abbreviations, once you use these unfamiliar notes, once you use these unfamiliar short forms, you'll be left confused. So, can you make sure that as much as you're using these short forms like which, for example, meet JW at Githurai MKT. You can have that, for example, at 4 p.m. after the Zoom classes, I purpose to visit or to meet JW. Remember, that is an abbreviation. Could be John Wahome or Joyce Wamboi, for example, at Githurai MKT. That is another, short form of market. So can you make sure that as much as you're using these abbreviations, you're well familiar with them, so that in future, once you look at your diary, you'll be able to, to have close touch with your diary. You can relate to issues basically that you had written in the past. That is the second thing that you need to observe. First, you be brief, be very selective. Number 2, we said you can use the short forms, the notes, or the abbreviations as long as they are meaningful to you. And for exam purpose, can you make sure that you use the commonly known abbreviations? Like, for example, one that is very common, BTW, by the way. At least, universally, we know what that means. Others could be like ASAP, as soon as possible. So make sure in an exam setting, you use abbreviations or short forms that are universally accepted. Take note of that. But as you record as you keep your diary at the moment, you can use those familiar terms for yourself. Because at the end of the day, we said this diary, especially at this period of time, it's only meant to be consumed by your personal eye. Number 3, another point to keep in mind as you keep your diary, Bravi Wainaina, choose the right diary. Write that, choose the right diary. Something else that you need to keep in mind as you keep your diary, I said, choose the right diary. The right diary in terms of what? Number 1, in terms of size. Choose the right diary. Number 1, in terms of size. Please, as you choose your diary, I showed you, I like being practical. I like being practical. In terms of size, can you make sure that it is portable? Portable, you can be able to carry it from one place to another with ease. You don't have to hire a wheelbarrow or a mkokoteni to carry your diary. Can you make sure that it is portable? It is not bulky. You can take it from one place to another with ease. Make sure that you choose the right diary in terms of appearance. Appearance. Gravy, write that. First one I said in terms of size, make sure that it is very portable. It's not bulky, okay? In terms of appearance, it should be pleasant to the eye. Please write that. Pleasant to the eye. It should be appealing. It should capture your attention. Like I showed you my favorites. Quite pleasant. So appealing to Mrs. Mem's eyes. Every time that I want to have my work plan for the day, I really look forward to using my diary. Yani, in short, kitu inakuweka psych. Kurecord vitu. That is what I mean. It should be pleasant. It should be eye-catching. If your favorite color, like personally, Mrs. Mem, I love warm colors, the bright colors. That is why I'm really choosing the 2. We are all different. We are all unique. Idris Njuma, one Northeast. Cooperate. We are all unique. So, can you choose a color that is appealing to your eye? The design, can you go for a design that is pleasing before your eyes? Because again, I've said we are all unique. What colors are my favorites? To most of you gentlemen, blue. You have a thing for blue. So just go for your favorite color and design. Let us look at something else. Choose the right diary in terms of what else? Layout. Layout, layout, L-A-Y, then the word out. Write that. So whichever layout works for you, go for it. Personally, I prefer the plain, where I develop everything from the scratch, starting with the date, starting with the day, starting with the time, starting with the postings. I like developing my diary from the scratch. And this is what I'd like to urge you, all of you, because at the end of the day, diary keeping is examinable. Can you develop a habit of creating a diary from the scratch? For now, avoid the commercially printed diaries because everything is well guided. Kazi yako tu ni kuweka. 8 to 8:30 una feed. So can you be a bit proactive and develop your own diary from the scratch? Because with practice, even when the exams come, even if it's next year, God willing, you'll be very comfortable tackling that question on diary writing, as opposed to relying on the commercialized, the ones that are guided, yeah? This one will not help you to be a better scholar. So can you make sure that your diary, just go look for a very beautiful notebook, okay? One that is not bulky, one that is appealing to the eyes, and then you start from the scratch, observing the guidelines that I have outlined. As I wind up, I'm sure most people are wondering, when this time is not ending. Don't worry, we have less than 10 minutes. So, as I wind up, make sure, remember this is daily recordings. At the end of the month, create an overview section. Create a monthly overview section. Write that. We said with the diaries, we need to make it a daily practice. Then, at the end of each month, can you make sure that you create a monthly overview section? Write that. Yeah, there beside. At the end of every month, reserve a section to review. What is it that I had recorded over those days? What was I able to achieve each and every day? Where I failed, what do I need to do to beat a given challenge? That is the whole purpose of creating that monthly overview section, so that you're able to rate yourself as an individual in terms of accomplishments, so that if you have achieved, if you've been so faithful to, following, your diary, the activities, every time you are able to, achieve a task, an activity, an appointment, at the end of the month, you can even decide, oh, I've been so good to myself. I am becoming a person of integrity, and even decide to spoil yourself a bit with a piece of chicken, for example, to award the good progress. However, if you're not in a position maybe to have met all the things that you had purpose to achieve on a daily basis, now as you review at the end of the month, you're able to observe, oh, this task, I'm having a challenging time in meeting it. So what do I do as an individual to make myself a better person? How do I, as an individual, work on it, so that at the end of the day, you will emerge a successful person? So basically, since time is almost up, I'd like to give you a task, a very simple task, which has no deadline. I'm not giving you a time limit. This is a lifetime assignment that I want to give you. Immediately after this lesson, after this Zoom lesson, from today, we are all getting saved and we are starting to keep diaries. If you've been keeping one, thumbs up, keep it up, continue with that. If you've never written one, please go through the notes that we have been able to develop, and let's be faithful to keeping a diary to guide us and as individuals. And when school opens, I'm sure you'll be so grateful for that. So basically, time is up. It was a wonderful session, though not so interactive. I wish we could be back at Mangu to interact, but we are praying.
Madam, can we take 2 or 3 questions?
Okay, it's okay.
before the end of the lesson? Okay.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay.
Yep.
Yes.
So we have
Welcome. Yes.
Idris Juma.
Yes.
Can you open your mic?
Yes, Idris Juma.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, please,
Excuse
Idris.
me, teacher.
Yes.
I was asking you to give an example of an entry.
An example of an entry. All right, let me give you a practical one. And I want to assume
Yes.
that all of us, when you are going home, I want to believe that you were able to carry our KLB, book 1. In my classes, I call it excelling in English. KLB book 1. Idris is asking for an example of an entry. So when you have time, in case you don't have one nearby, please make sure that you go to page 63. Page 63. Take note of that, Idris, and everybody else. Page 63, KLB. You will get a sample on page 63 that has an entry. And actually, there are 3 entries there, okay? And we can see actually from the example given on page 63, Idris, we can see that we only record things that are not so obvious. And they are in order of happening, what you need or you purpose to happen. They are chronological or sequential. So please create time and look, page 63, KLB. We have a very good example. If you have the head start, for those who may be having head start, kindly also look at page 115, head start. We have another entry, an example of an entry. There is this revision book, test it and fix it. It is a revision book. If you have it, there is another example on page 29. Page 29, text it, and basically we have all these reference materials that you can always look out for, and you'll be able to see some examples of diaries, how you need to feed them as you write. Another question, please.
Emmanuel Karaoke.
Emmanuel, where are you?
Yeah,
Unmute yourself.
Yes?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Emmanuel. I hope you're not very tired. I hope you're
No, I'm
not.
not. Yes, I am not.
All right.
When you are creating a monthly overview section,
Sorry, when you're creating?
a monthly overview section,
Yes.
how do you do it? And my second question is, how can you show yourself that you have been able to finish that task or objective which you had written in the diary?
Okay,
how do you, in a physical mean, how do you show yourself in the diary that you have been able to?
Yes, now this is what we normally do. When you are doing that monthly overview, it's basically you are trying to gauge yourself. What have you been able to accomplish? What have you not been able to accomplish during the entire month? And we said in this diary, it's normally a daily routine. So what you normally do, it's Samuel. What you normally do, you just create some time, okay? Some few hours of your time, and then you go through and every day that you recorded, each and every day, what are the tasks that you had, you had planned? Were you able to achieve them? If not, now you try to chart the way forward. So basically, you'll need to create some extra time. Look at, we normally call it daily reviews. Try to see, like for example, today, being 20th of July, this is what I had planned for the day. 21st of July, like that, all the way to the end of the month. Try to seek the areas that you were able, the things that you were able to achieve, Okay, so that at least now you can continue with the same trend. You may have failed for one reason or another, you are not able to achieve. Of course, now you can work on them. Then you just make it can even be as brief as 1 point or 2 sentences or 3 sentences. So basically, you're just doing a review on the progress that you have made during the entire month. Has your question been answered?
Yes, the first one, but the second one has not.
The second one, repeat, please. Repeat.
How can you show yourself that you have been able to complete the task? Because you have said in the when you are creating the monthly overview section, you gauge yourself that you have shown yourself that you have been able to complete this and this task, and this one you have not. How do you know that you have completed it and you haven't?
By the mere looking at whatever has been happening over the past. You get? You just look at whatever you had. Like, for example, let's assume at the end of the Zoom classes today, you purpose to visit Naomi, your sister, at JW Palace, for example. And then maybe for one reason or another, you are not able to achieve that. So we see that later, as you're doing your monthly review, now you're able to, on this day, I was not able to achieve a given task, okay? And maybe it was even something that is recurrent. Maybe you'll be able even to observe when it comes to visiting people, you are not able to honor that. So that, having looked at that, you are able now to work on that weakness for you to make it a strength. You're getting?
Yes. Thank you.
So can we add with we end with Tom? Tom has been raising the hand for a long time. So Tom, take on.
Tom.
Yes, my question is that, so in the diary, do we also write the experiences once in a day?
Oh, don't worry about the experiences, about the feelings, about the thoughts, about the reflections. Don't worry about that, Tom. That one, it will still fall under personal writing, but in form 2. Something that we refer to as personal journals. In a personal journal, that is where you will now record the observations that you made during the day, the feelings, if something happened, for example, how you felt about it, okay? Looking back, how you feel about it, and maybe a reflection. From that experience, you are able to learn something out of it. So don't worry, Martin, Tom, that one we will cover in form 2 when we are looking at another type of personal writing referred to as personal journal. Sawa, Tom, Martin.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome, Tom, and take care of yourself. Any other?
Same to you.
All right. Any other question?
We have the Swahili, Siwari John.
Siwali.
Excuse me, Chiam.
Yes, Siwali. Yes.
The assignment that I've given, are we writing about today's activities or monthly?
As I have said, this one should be a lifelong process from now up to when God will keep you. Make it a routine for you to have that personal diary. So it is a lifelong assignment I'm giving you. Am I clear? John?
Yes.
Yes. So that you may be able to be a good person. Somebody who is orderly, a man of integrity, somebody who is very organized with life. Sawa. Yes. Otherwise,
thank you.
I think time is up. And I'd urge you all to take good care of yourselves. God willing, come next year, 2021, we'd like to receive you all back at Mangu High School. So can you make sure that you take good care of yourselves, maintain the social distance, sanitize, wash your hands. What else are we being told to do? All that we are being told to do. And may God protect you all. Keep you safe from all harm. Otherwise, from my end, I'd like to say bye-bye. Time is up. God bless you. And I had such a wonderful session with all of you, and I look forward to another one. Otherwise, from me, bye, bye, bye. Take care. Bye. Bye.
Okay, bye everyone. I'm ending the class now.
Yes.